Hello and welcome to Billy Ho Sports. I guess it's Carpe Griseo. That's Latin for seize the gray. And he did indeed seize the day, Carpe Diem style, by nearly going wire to wire to win Preakness 149, contested on a muddy track yesterday at Pimlico. So we're going to recap the race, kind of point out some things that went right, went wrong. Then later on, stick around. We're going to go through some probables, possibles for the third leg of the Triple Crown, which is the Belmont Stakes, and also to be held at Saratoga. That's why I'm wearing the shirt. Obviously, due to the construction at Belmont Park, they're going to hold the race, and it's going to be shortened to 1.25 miles. So where do these 3-year-olds go from here? Stay engaged to find out. There's plenty of I'll have every major stakes race, and we'll even do older horses. It's not just a 3-year-old. It's just that's what's most important right now. And then we'll start to get into the bigger races, the Whitney and the Travers and all that kind of good stuff later on in the summer, leading up to the fall at Del Mar for the Breeders' Cup. The fun doesn't end June 8th at the Belmont. Let's put it that way. Stay engaged. Make sure you subscribe to the channel first off if you haven't done so. We were so close. I think we're just less than 10 subscribers short of 2K. So we can get that done, trip and stumble our way to do that. I'm not super disappointed that we didn't get it by the Preakness deadline. It's not like it was set in stone, but anyway. So give us that like while you're at it. And in the comment section, give us your take on the Preakness. Any comments or questions are more than welcome. So let's go. Well, if you watched my betting video last week, I, in a sense, gave out the winner. I personally, I'm not claiming victory like I was on Seize the Gray, but we're going to look at the video, and then I'll point out what I showed in my video that had the gray coat on top for the conditions. So as the race gets started, a pretty clean break all the way around. I think Tuscan Gold was bumped a little bit early on and got shuffled back a little bit. But you can see Jamie Torres smartly breaks, sees the gray right out to the lead, and Imagination following along. I could tell right away that Torres, I mean, he had that horse in control. You could see how well he was striding over the surface, and he was just kind of doing the check back thing to make sure that there wasn't any horses pressuring him. And then that way he was able to run that controlled pace. And it wasn't a slow pace. It was like a 47 half mile, 47 and change for the half mile. So like I said, Tuscan Gold was shuffled out, didn't get out well. So he wasn't up to the task that day. I still think he needs development personally, and I mentioned that in my previous video. I think the best is yet to come for him. I think he'll be a little better later on in the summer. I didn't realize quite how close the Ohio Derby was, but it's still just like June 22nd, so it's a month away. So he could be more than ready for that. I think that might be a good spot for him to land in, grade 3 company. So Imagination wasn't up to the task either. I was worried. I thought he was my pick to win. I thought that he would be able to handle the surface. I don't think he did very well. I think he ran as far as he could go, and obviously he hadn't been 3/16, a mile and 3/16. He had only been like, I think the Santa Anita Derby was 1.125 miles, but he gave way, and Uncle Heavy wasn't a factor. That was a little disappointing. Mugatu was garbage. They ended up easing him up. He was never, I mean, it was just an also ran, basically. So the two horses that did run their races and I thought ran pretty well were Catching Freedom and Mystic Dan. Brian Hernandez set up his textbook stalking trip for Mystic Dan, and Flavian Pratt was just a length or two right off to his right on Catching Freedom. The only problem was those two hit the stretch ready to roll, but they weren't rolling up Seize the Gray. He was uncatchable down the stretch. He was just too strong this day. So all three of those horses ran on Derby Day. And they all performed well. Maybe Seize the Gray only going a mile in the Pat Day Mile, but I didn't think the other two horses ran. They didn't give away. They were coming down the stretch. So the distance or fatigue or anything, there wasn't anything like that. No excuses. They just got out kicked, and it happens. Those were three. You can see how much they were separated from the rest of the field. Just Steel looked like a tired horse. I thought so. So he was just hopefully he gets a break. But anyway, this is what I pointed out in the video the other day. Sire Mud stats. And I kind of went through an explanation on how Seize the Gray had a very high percentage with a minimum number of starts. That's the key to it, is it was like 23%, but only like 197 starts in that 23%, which is basically really good. So also this SPI, which is Sire Production Index, was 2.49, I think, something like that. And that's high because 1 is average, 1.5 is above average. So 2.49, really, really good. So you got to give congratulations to Dwayne Lucas. He's always had a knack for upsetting the apple cart in major stakes races. Just when you don't see him coming, he kind of hides in the shadows. But when he's like got the favorite, it doesn't seem to work out for him. So it's shout out to him. I do think that Just Steel deserves a break, but I expect to see getting into the Belmont now, Seize the Gray to go to the Belmont. I think he'll the way Dwayne Lucas runs horses, he's obviously going. I don't see, unless he's hurt or fever or something serious, he's going. Also, if you weren't aware, obviously Saratoga is going to have the race. It will be shortened to 10 furlongs. Sierra Leone should be going. But will he be able to keep from drifting like he did badly in the stretch? And he run into Forever Young, and then Forever Young ran into him, and those two were just butting heads down the stretch like a couple old stubborn mules, so to speak. But anyway, the Gunrunner colt purchased for $2.3 million as a yearling. He did drift in badly in that stretch drive. He's had a 98 and 99 speed figures, buyer speed figures the last two races. And that Bluegrass Stakes 2 starts ago where he drifted in, but there just wasn't any horses in his way until he got all the way to the rail, and it looked like he was just going to plow right over the top of I think that was actually I think it was Tuscan Gold in that race, leading. Anyway, Fierceness should be in the mix to go. He's lined up for a big race. If you subscribe to every other race theory for him, he just got off his crappy race and now he's ready to excel again. So according to the jockey, John Velasquez, he was quoted, his first jump from the gate wasn't very good. Second and third jump was okay. He tried to keep him settled in without letting him do too much, but he was already engaged and he was just, I guess, just jacked up. So when he let him go, he just didn't have it that day. So he's going to have 5 weeks off and should be plenty fresh. Antiquarian, the improving colt, could join the Belmont field after his victory in the Grade 3 Peter Pan, May 11th at Aqueduct. He ran down the Wine Steward in the final 16th of a mile after stalking the pace. If you recall, he's the one that broke through the gate in the Louisiana Derby, had to be reloaded, and then just kind of had a mediocre race. But, something like that happens, and it kind of throws a horse off his game, so to speak. Wine Stewart did have the lead in that race, who I think will be a possible for the Belmont. He wasn't able to hold off Antiquarian. He finished second by 3/4 of a length. The latest in the series of near misses for that horse. He's got second place finishes in the Grade 3 Lexington, most recent before, and then the Breeders' Futurity. They were both at Keeneland. So another one, Honor Marie, should be a good fit and well rested. After his late rally, he finished 8th in the Kentucky Derby. Not the best of trips that day, but he was definitely still interested in the stretch run. So he was obviously the horse that was right there with Catching Freedom down the stretch in the Louisiana Derby, only to finish second. Then another possible entry is West Saratoga. Had a rough trip in the Derby. Larry Demerit is willing to give him another chance, which is fine. I'd like to see him. He hasn't won a significant race since the Grade 3 Iroquois last September. So I don't know. Now, the interesting ones will be Catching Freedom and Mystic Dan. If they come out of this race healthy and happy like they did the Derby, I think they'll run them. But it's really tough to go all three legs and then be ready for like any other summer stakes racing. So we're looking at probably somewhere in the neighborhood of a 10-horse field for the exciting that it's exciting that Saratoga will have that race. So something a little different. So thanks for joining me today. I appreciate you. Subscribe to the channel. Let's just hit that 2,000 mark right away, and then we'll just put that in the rear view and we'll start heading for 3,000. So until next time, thanks for watching. See you soon.